Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to take a look at a game called Dune Imperium, designed by Paul Dennen. For 1 to 4 players. In this game, you are recreating events from the first book in the Dune series. Those of you who know the Dune series will know what to expect. Those of you who don't will still maybe find a good game inside. Let's find out. Alright, so let's do a quick roundabout gameplay component breakdown for you. The manual is, as everyone knows, my favorite pizza box sized, but chock filled with lots of examples, excellent organization, not to give away the ending, but yeah, good stuff. The game board itself is very readable once you actually know just that it's broken down into some major sections. And this is the planet Arrakis. Not to cause a ruckus or anything, but that's what it is. You have different areas. These are where you're going to be doing your worker placement. Get out of there, you silly goose. And conflict area, where you're going to do battles. That'll all make sense very quickly. You have the various houses that you're going to be influencing or trying to gain influence and power and favorites and all that stuff. The Lanstrad Council, which those who know Dune intimately will be familiar with. And that's about it for the game board. And then a conflict area. The game takes place over 10 turns, and in those 10 turns you're going to flip a conflict card, and at the end of every turn you're going to fight and do battle with whatever troops you've got committed to battle here in order to gain various rewards. Beyond that, you have these cards. Now, there's 3 kinds that are always available. These are just sort of your static, blanket, basic stuff you can do. And then you've got these cards that lay in the conveyor belt kind of format, where you're flipping 5, and then you as you buy them, you flip them, etc., and it just keeps rolling. And your score track, get those suckers back where they belong. Every player is going to get their own character to start with. Now, I have Glossu the Beast Raban, Duke Leto, and Earl Minman Torvald. And they are going to be our contestants today on The Spice is Right. So with that, they're going to get these are sort of their troops. Well, they're not sort of. They are the troops. You just can't tell because they're so darn weaponless. And then the 2 placement workers that you'll begin with, you'll be able to gain a 3rd one over time. And then these are for specific gameplay purposes. As you win conflicts, you might be able to place them on areas in order to make sure that you get a bonus whenever someone takes advantage of them. Each character has both a special starting ability that's always resident, sort of the passive ability, and then each person has when you play a card with a signet ring, they get their own special ability. Obviously they vary per character, and that's about it. Of course, the the start player token, and then of course we have the currency, the water, so precious, and of course the spice. Yes, and that's it. That's actually all there is to the components. So we're going to get rolling right into a mock 3-player game. Okay, now normally I use the 2-handed or 3-handed player mechanism to teach. I don't normally start off by playing the solo version. The reality is the solo version is so smooth and streamlined, and you're going to learn everything you need to know by playing just one hand, that we're just going to go ahead and play a solo game. Similarities are striking enough that I don't think you're going to miss out on anything other than the obvious, gameplay advantages of having a human trying to thwart you rather than a less sentient set of cards for AI. So anyway, so we're going to start off with this is my player, 10 cards. Everybody starts with a basic 10 cards. Now the interesting thing about these cards is you're going to have they match up. This is a pairing. I've seen this. Imagine if any of you ever played Underwater Cities, you'll get kind of a similar vibe in that you play a particular card for its benefits, but then it triggers benefits on wherever you place the worker that it triggers. We'll go over that. That'll make sense, so much sense. But you have these pretty much starting cards. This is the signet ring. Like I said, if you play this card, then you'll just activate your player's special ability. What's interesting is you'll note that on the left here, you've got these particular icons. This is where you can place a worker when you play that card. Some of these don't even let you. Like, for example, this is only worth buying other cards with. So it's pretty convincing at start, but it might lead to arguments if you don't find a way to maybe trim that from your deck later on. So, for example, let's just start off and I'll show you how it goes, because there's going to be a lot more for you to see than for me to just yammer on. So at the round start, I'm going to draw 5 of these cards. That's 4. 4 plus 1 is still 5. We're golden. And then we're going to start with the player on the left. Now this is AI, so let's just go through it. You just grab one of these cards, so dang simple, and you look and go, oh, he wants to place a worker in Highliner. He's going to find on the board Highliner, which normally would cost a player 6 spice. That's huge, but they get 5 units to go into their garrison, not combat, well, yeah, actually they can go into, long story, to place into their garrison or combat area, and 2 water. Water is so precious in this game. But that doesn't matter, because for the AI, all that matters is that you place that worker there to gum up the works for me, the human player, who wishes to someday do that, and just follow along with whatever it says to do on the card. In this case, we're going to raise our influence for House Harkonnen 1 space on the track for the Spacing Guild. Now, it might not seem like much, but it is. And to go over things quickly, just to explain how you win, it's all about getting these sunflower points, as I call them, but really there's spice points or victory points. But you're on this track that I've just knocked off, and as you climb up on the tracks, for instance, once you get to this space, you're going to get a point. And you're going to, well, blue is going to get a point. And every time on the board, as you're finding your way and collecting cards, whatever, you're going to be able to earn these points in a variety of ways to make your way up to 10. 10 is the threshold for victory. Once you hit 10, then there's a scoring round and a chance, whoever's got the most will win. So, little spice badges. Anyway, so that's the value of that. Also, if the House Harkonnen were able to get up to this threshold, they would take this, they would get a point, and they would get this particular alliance, which might benefit them later, because certain abilities require that you have alliances with, etc. So, of course, you could lose it again. If someone actually gets a little bit higher, they can take it from you, but if someone lands here, they're basically going to get it. That's just the way it works. That's just how it works in Funtown. Alright, so, we got that rolling. We are ready to go. Put the spice back. So let's just get rolling on the turn. In this case, we have elevated up our House Harkonnen influence level, and we're going to grab 3 cubes. Now, because this has a conflict space, we're going to be able to put these either in our garrison if we want. We can just pick which area we want to start with for a garrison. Or, actually, I think I even start with some, if I remember right, but maybe I don't. We'll find out later. Someone will tell me. Or just start them flat out in the conflict area. Dude, we got to explain what we're fighting for. Every round, we should have started with this. I flip it over. Whoever wins this combat is going to get to raise their influence on any one of these they want and get a spice. Second place gets 2. Third place only matters in a 4-player game. Alright, so we've done that. If we didn't have this going into a conflict spot with that X, then everything would just have to go into the garrison, and some other thing would have to trigger moving them out into the battlefield. So, again, into the garrison, and then out into the battlefield in certain ways. Alright, that's it for our AI. The rest of the AI's turns are going to be more quick. Now it's my turn, and I've got choices to make. So what am I going to do? I've got some pretty basic choices to start with. I don't think I probably don't want to waste on spice yet. So these are really basic. There's not really a ton of stuff going on. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to... dang, what am I going to do? Do I want spice? Do I want to get rolling with the spice? I do. I want to get rolling with the spice. So I'm going to play this card. I get no bonus of it, but I get to place my worker somewhere in one of these yellow spots. And I'm going to place it here. Why? Because I can spend my water, because that's also required cost, and then I can get 2 spice. Sometimes the worms come along and give you extra spice, but we're just going to do this, so the spice of life. Alright, and we're done. Now we're going to go to Earl Torvald, and his action is he's going to take his worker and he's going to go up in the Empire track. He's going to put it on Conspire, because that's what the card said to. And then he's going to get 2 cubes. There's no conflict marker, so we're just going to go into his garrison. That's it. That's really how fast AI turns take. Now we're back to Raban. So, there. Ooh, wealth. So he's going to put his on wealth, and he's going to raise up his influence there. See how quickly that goes? Then I have a chance. I have 1 worker left. I'm going to use this signet ring. Okay? Signet ring lets me place a worker anywhere on the yellow or the green or the blue. And that becomes interesting because I really want my extra worker. So, but I don't have enough money yet. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and instead put it on Carthage. That gives me 1 troop to commit to battle. And whenever I commit to battle, I can always take 2 from my garrison and add that in there. And an intrigue card. Intrigue cards are little specialties. Apologies for that. Anyway, these special intrigue cards, which I don't think I explained pretty well, give you different bonuses at different times. Some of them you can just play during your turn, and they just give you a little boost here and there. Others are for actual combat, in which case you can throw those down and surprise people. Think Blood Rage. And there's also end of game ones where you can basically wait till the end of the game, and you might find that you get a little extra bonus and surprise people. It's all about surprise. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Alright, so there's our intrigue card, and we're done. That's what we've done. We've given ourselves the best situation we could find, and that is it. Well, no, that's not, because Torvald still has a unit left. Carthage. Oh, Carthage is taken. We've already got a unit there, so we basically just keep flipping cards till we find one. Harvest Spice is a special one that says if an agent wants to go anywhere there's bonus spice. Right now there's no bonus spice. You'll find that out probably in subsequent rounds. So we're just going to flip that over and Conspire. Look, Conspire is also taken. Let's keep going. Still Suits. Still Suits is also taken. Still Suits is also taken. Harvest Spice is also taken. This is rare. Fold Space. Finally. Fold Space we can place here. And we then increase Torvald's house 1 space in the influence track. Now we're done. Nobody has any workers left. So with that, we are completed. And we can now go to the next phase, which is combat. Combat is interesting. Oh, no. When I'm out of units, unlike the AI, when I'm out of units, or when I've used up all of my abilities in the game, these cards are set aside, not in the discard pile, but not quite anywhere else. And then any cards remaining in my hand, the gray part is for when you're using them with workers. The bottom part is when you're using them for your reveal stage, is what they call it. Basically, it's the end of your turn. This is where you can buy stuff. I have 2 plus 1 is 3 points to spend. 3 points to spend. I look for a card. Ooh, I like Guild Bankers. Means that other cards cost less. Goes in the discard pile, just like Dominion and other games of its type. And I have an extra power for my combat. So this is what happens. In combat, as I'm preparing, I have 3 units in combat. They're worth 2. That puts me at 6. And this adds another one for 7. So I might win this conflict, or I might not. And that's it. Then everything's put into the discard pile. Yay! Now we go to combat. And combat has 6. If you don't have any units in there, you don't get to participate, flat out. But now, here's the tricky part. I'm going to draw this card, and if it's 1 or more, then it's a tie. It's not. Whew. Had there been any of those sword indicators, then it would have added to the AI, but it didn't. So I actually win, which means I can pick any of these as my reward. I can pick any of these and go up a notch. I'm going to try going up a notch with the Emperor right now. And I get a spice. The AI also gets second place gets 2 spice. They don't do anything with them except that they accumulate over time, and the solo player rules let you turn those in for victory points too. So, and that's that. And so that is it. And then we do the makers. Basically, we go for any of these spaces that have a worm on them. If they don't have any workers placed on them, then you add spice, and this can grow, this can accumulate. So you might find yourself uh, with a real big load of spice just because the makers keep generating it. So, and that's that. Then everybody pulls all their units back, and we sort of reset the stage, and that's that. Now, one thing I will mention, where basically you're just going to keep doing this. You're going to go round and round, and you're going to try and buy cards. Some of the cards, like this one, you can always buy, will give you a free point, which is what you want, but they're costly. You've got all kinds of ways to manipulate the universe in ways beyond just the core rule set. You're going to play through these. For example, the second conflict, on this case, is going to give you some other victories. You have 1, 2, and 3. So you start off with like basic conflicts, and then eventually you're going to go to level 3 conflicts, which are fighting over the entire region, similar to the books. Now, in the solo play, at a certain point, after certain rounds, then your AI is, hey, that wasn't AI, get their third worker, and that third worker is gives them 3 options instead of 2. So it basically, it adds a lot more networking to say. As for players, if a player chooses this location, they'll get their swordmaster, and they too will get their third unit to begin. I'm not going to go over all the specifics, but you can see a lot of the vibe of Dune coming out with this game. I think that's it. I think what you're seeing is kind of the general idea of gameplay. Again, it all flows together nicely, so let's just get into my final thoughts on Dune Imperium. Okay, final thoughts on Dune Imperium. As always, I like to go over the cons first, and they are minute. As a personal pet peeve is I really hate pizza box size manuals. I hate having them strung all over the board. If I don't have a knight of a round table size table, so without Guinevere and all the other Camelotian knights, my table is not really large, and so pizza box sized manuals annoy me. That said, the manual itself is excellent. The other thing is 2 players. Solo play, when you come to the instructions for those, the insert that has 2-player rules and solo rules is a little bit curiously arranged. It makes it so that it's less clear which rules match which. There's common rules, shared rules between the two, then there's the 2 players, and there's the solo players, but there's still references in those sections about the other side. It might have been never just to do a clearer, one side is the 2-player rules, one side is the 1-player rules with the duplication. Ultimately, everything's there, so that, again, as I promised, is a minute deal. Ultimately, there's been some discussion about the fact that the board itself is a little subdued, the artwork, and I think part of that is because we have right now a contrast in other games coming out that are worker placement style that are just vivid and bright and colorful. We have Lost Ruins of Arnak, we have Alibari, we have, that's later, Praga Capta Regni, Reavers of Midgard. These are a few where the worker placement is just this vibrant, alive map. And I'm not going to lie, the artwork's beautiful. I don't think it's a problem here. Personally, just let you know, it is a subdued presentation. It does feel a little bit flat. But to get the benefit of that is that it's very clear, very direct, and very obvious where you place things. It's not a deficit, in my opinion. It's just, it's subdued. I mean, it's Dune. It's sand. There you go. So those are the only things that I can think of, and honestly, they're trivial at best. So let's get into the pros, and this is where it really shines. The manual's contents are top notch and on point for teaching this game, and that's beautiful. The iconography is clear, it's consistent, it's concise, and it's purposeful, and I love that about the game. It's so smooth, you'll know what to do in minutes, despite the fact that there are various islands of focus that you're going to have to deal with. You have the cards you play, you have the locations to play for your workers, you have surprises in the form of
conflict cards and intrigue cards. You've got the round goals for the end of each round goals that you're leading to. You've got leader abilities that I think are quite varied, and honestly, I think they're perfectly attuned to the Dune personalities that they represent. The subtle nudges of each faction towards a given play, meshed with what cards are available in the card area, it really gives a potency of direction to how you're playing the game, and it all blends so smoothly like a pumpkin spice latte. Har har. The big hook on this game is that it's a card play with worker placement juxtaposed on top of it. Now, this is not the first I've seen of it. In fact, Underwater Cities is a game by a different author a couple years ago that does a similar thing. You play a card color, and then you get the double bonus from wherever the card location that you place in the card. So this is not new. I really liked it in Underwater Cities. I absolutely adore it in Dune Imperium. There are so many subtleties. It's not just grab, mesh. It's the place you play can open up an opportunity to place units in garrison or on a battlefield. It can ripple out a few effects, not so much that you become overwhelmed, but enough that you feel like your turns are meaningful and meatyful. I think the resource scarcity and plentifulness ratio is perfection. It's it's just like water is scarce, but not so scarce. Spice is about right. The money is right. It all blends. It's clearly on its game, on top of its game when it came to balancing this game out. So, solo play is perfect for me, and it's perfect for me because I love this approach better than any other approach. We've got automatas, we've got bots, we've got all, just beat your scores kind of thing. This works great because it's exactly the right style for me to get an absolute maximum output that feels like another player with the absolute minimum of effort involved. Nations is another game that did this, and I really like it. You flip a card, you resolve the result. You get to the end of a fake player's turn right at the end, and it works well here. It's not, is it smart? No, it's not going to replace the humans, but it's certainly going to give me a run for my money, just as well as if I'd had some sort of flowchart to have to try to make great decisions. It's great. Game length is right. It's a very good game length. You have just enough to feel like you're building momentum, and then there's not this sort of wear out your welcome mid-phase where you're kind of just starting to your eyes are glazing over before you hit the end. You'll be satisfied with the game, but you'll always think of what you might have wished to have accomplished or crammed in right before the end. Again, so like In the Hall of the Mountain King is another game that I think does that well, and this does it stellarly. Combat is not a point-in-time activity so much as it's a slow percolating build-up over the course of the entire round, coming into a culmination that might have some surprises. It really is a prize fight. During the course of your actions and placements, you might do a jab, get some units in a garrison, get some more in a garrison, maybe activate some and bring some in. How we doing? It's a 10-round prize fight, and I love it. I love that it's not just, okay, everybody, we did all this, now let's go into this discrete combat mode, and everybody just throw your crap out there and we'll see. Like Blood Rage. There's got that Blood Rage feel, which is a huge positive. That I don't lightly compare it to Blood Rage, but and the thing is, if you don't pull off all the bonuses from combat and you don't win combat, it's not like it's a huge, overwhelming, well, crap, now I'm behind the 8 ball. You're behind the 2 ball. And you still might be setting yourself up better for a future round as the ebb and flow of conflicts commence, and the rewards get better and better. So obviously you have some forward thinking you could do that you might not realize you could do. Dune Imperium pulls off an amazing feat of paving the way with simplicity of a procedural game flow, while also giving you equitable, meaningful ways to advance your cause along a myriad of tracks. That's hard to do because if you're too procedural, it just becomes scripted. If you're too Wild West, then you might have so many different ways that you just kind of lose a clear vision. This hits it right in the middle. This is like exactly stay on target kind of bliss. So anyway, summary. How am I doing? I'm doing great. Seriously, this is a 10 out of 10 game, and I haven't given a 10 out of 10 in probably 2 or 3 years. It's great solo, it's great 2-player, it's great 3-player, it's great 4-player, it's engaging, it's perfectly timed tunes, it's exquisitely meshed together with numerous different play styles with a flair that transcends its more general look. Only game I've ever bought that I've actually purchased an upcoming deluxe pack for the cost that's greater than the actual cost I paid for the game. I've never done that before. I've occasionally I might bling things up a bit, but generally I don't. But this game is going to get so many games and so many plays. I mean, what can I say? It's the price must flow. So I'll be paying a lot for this game. But honestly, it's worth it. And the other beautiful thing is, as some of you know, whenever I see a game based on a some sort of license or something, if I don't feel like I'm up to speed with it, then Lord of the Rings being the exception, then oftentimes I actually treat myself by going, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to go read the material again. I did this for several different games. For war games, I like to do that. I'll read books like Churchill or American Warlords for playing Churchill. I'll read Versailles, Paris 1919 if I'm going to play a game on the Treaty of Versailles. When I got the Expanse board game, I decided I was going to go watch the movies, and then I decided to go read all the books, and then I got back to it. And so when it came to Dune, I actually set it aside, which is why it's taken, well, that's not the only reason, but why it's taken a while to get to this review, because I went back and read the books. And I think that it's a testament to this game that it encouraged me to read back. I read the books as a child, and I really enjoyed them as a child. I came back and reread them after many years, and my adult mind has gotten even more out of it to pick up the subtleties, the nuances, the wonderful world that is Dune. And so I've immersed myself in it. It's rejuvenated my Dune passions. Not since playing the Dunedain in Lord of the Rings have I been this interested in sand. And I don't want to cause a ruckus, but this game is for real. So buy it, and you too can be a pallbearer. Sorry if you find my puns appalling. Anyway, 10 out of 10. Buy it, won't go wrong. Highly recommended. No reservations. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.